Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar. This is actually episode number 100. I committed to doing 100 episodes in 100 days, and here we are. And I saved this guest for this episode. This is a real special guest, and it's not a guitar player. This guy is truly one of the nicest and happiest human beings I know. He's a total professional. I've known Tony Lewis for 40 years, and this guy had a great work ethic before I even know what that term work ethic meant. Let me give you some background about Tony, and I'll tell you why he's so special. He grew up in the Bronx. He's been playing drums professionally for over 40 years. Here's just a small slice of the artists he's played with and had television appearances with. Little Richard, B.B. King, Dizzy Gillespie, The Shy-Lights, Mary Wilson, Sting, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee Sam Moore from Sam and Dave. He's toured with Cyndi Lauper, Richard Street's Temptations, Special EFX. Is that right, Tony? Special EFX?
Special Effects.
Special Effects, sorry.
Okay.
Michael Urbaniak, Martika, Dee Dee Jackson, and Benny King. He's recorded with Michael Hill's Blues Mob, Vernon Reid, Craig Harris, Elliott Sharp's Terraplane, Gwen Laster, and 24/7 Spies. And in the movie Fame, came out in 1980, and A Man Called Hawk, he's had movie appearances. He currently works with Ty Stevens and his group Soul Jazz. They have recorded their album Aquarian Mind, which is available now, and they're finishing up their next album, Feels So Good, which should be finished and released by the end of this year. So why is Tony Lewis such a special guest? Again, we grew up literally across the street from one another in the Bronx, and we began playing music together 40 years ago back in middle school, back when I played the saxophone. We were in a few different jazz bands together, and we also used to practice together. And sometimes we practice in different people's apartments. And Tony, do you remember we used to practice on the roof of the garage?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir. I absolutely remember that. Yeah.
And you probably don't remember this, but you were actually one of the first people I met when I moved to Co-op City, because there was like a sandbox in front of the building there.
Yep, I remember that.
And
that's right.
You were like, there's like 2 or 3 guys playing in the sandbox, and you were one of them, like literally the first day I moved in, which is really cool, man. So I am so happy and so honored that like we're here now, man, and we're alive, and that you're coming on here and just all that stuff. And Tony and I had a wonderful catch-up conversation for a couple hours before this call. So, man, thank you very much for your time.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you. It's an honor to be included in your 100th episode, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You know? I do want to make one change.
Yeah, please.
Regarding Tar Stevens and Soul Jazz. Actually, the album has been out, and it's called Good Medicine, and it's been released through the Sony Red label, distribution label. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that came out last year. So
great. So check out Tony, Good Medicine, with Ty Stevens and Soul Jazz.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Man,
right.
You've had such a long career, and you've done so many different things with so many cool artists. I was wondering how you got connected with some of these folks, or how you got the gig, and like maybe what was your biggest takeaway or lesson that you learned from your experience in working with these guys, either personally or professionally, whatever lesson you want to share. Start with, let's say, Dizzy Gillespie.
Believe it or not, the way that happened was, at the time, around 1979, I want to go back a bit, because I played with Dizzy in 1980, but in 1978, in the fall of 78, it seems as though McDonald's was putting together, the McDonald's Corporation, they were putting together a program to support jazz and support the arts in schools. So they had this situation where, for the tri-state area, they had 3 different bands. And one band was comprised of New York and Connecticut residents. Another band was comprised of New Jersey students, and another one was from Long Island. Now, we would go and play. These 3 different bands would play in different areas. And then what would happen is they would take the best players out of that group, of those 3 groups, and create the All-Star Jazz Ensemble. And what that included was a performance at Gracie Mansion for the mayor with a major jazz artist. Now, the thing I didn't tell you, Craig, was at 16, I got a chance to play that first performance. First of all, I got into the band. I got into New York, Connecticut band. And that was based on a recommendation from my teacher at my high school, Music and Art, Justin DeChocho, who was also an amazing drummer. And it was like my other father. I had my dad at home, and then I had my father in high school.
Justin.
And Justin was a JD. He's the man. So he came to me in the hallway and said, listen, man, I want you to audition for this McDonald's jazz band situation. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And really, man, at the time, I just felt like, whatever. You know, I had a blasé attitude about it, even though some of the charts we had already been doing in school. So I went there. I went to the school on a Saturday. I went and auditioned, and I really had a laissez-faire attitude about it. I didn't care. I said, if I get the gig, fine. If I don't, I'm not worried about it. So that was Saturday. Monday morning, he stops me before I go to jazz band class and says, oh, yeah, by the way, you got the gig.
Wow.
I'm like, I said, okay. So then we started rehearsing and, you know, playing with the cats. And they said, okay, well, there's somebody that you guys are going to be playing with at Gracie Mansion. Well, I ended up playing with Benny Goodman.
Wow.
Yeah, I played Benny Goodman when I was 16. And we played, you know, Don't Be That Way. And it was just so cool, man. He was very nice. He swung his tail off even at his old age, man. We had a ball. That was fun. Okay, I was a junior at that time in high school. Now it is, come to 79, I'm a senior, and it looks like McDonald's is doing it again. They're having the jazz band ensemble, and they're having the auditions. I said, okay. So I said, well, I'll do it again. Yeah, I'll audition. I hope I can get the gig, and I did it. And
you had to re-up. You had to re-up every year? Okay.
Every semester, right. So now it is in my senior year, I'm doing this, and next thing I know, I got the gig in the New York, Connecticut band, but then what happened was I got a phone call after a couple of the performances, and they said, okay, Tony, we're putting together the all-star band, and you're in it. And I said, oh, thank you. And you're going to be playing with Dizzy Gillespie on Merv Griffin's show. I'm like, whoa. I said, okay, fine. I was excited about that. And then so we're rehearsing now with Dizzy, okay? And Craig, as you know, up in Co-op City here in the Bronx, they have the Co-op City Times, which is still in circulation.
That's funny.
So somehow some of the media must have got down there and found out about it because they took a photo of Dizzy and I together. I don't know where that photo is. I'd have to find it. But we were going through the song Manteca. Okay?
Yeah, great song.
And you know, so we're rehearsing it, and then he stops the band. And he comes over to me, and he goes, hey, bro, let me hear you play a funk beat. I'm like, a funk beat? Yeah, you know. And he does that things with his hands, you know, to create like a syncopated rhythm. So I'm like, okay, so I just play whatever funk groove or whatever. And he stops and goes, yeah, I like that. You know what, man? I'm going to give you a drum solo. Just like that. I'm like, okay. And that's what ended up happening, man, you know.
And that is on YouTube now, correct?
Yes, it is. It's on YouTube.
Your channel? Is it like Tony Lewis channel?
Well, I have it on Lou Drum 73 channel at YouTube.
Okay.
But, yeah, but you can find it. You can just type in Dizzy Gillespie Merv Griffin Show 1980. You'll find it, and you'll see me.
That's a really cool, that's a great clip.
Yeah, and some of my other friends that are also still active and amazing musicians to this day are also in that video. One of the guys, he plays trombone in the video, but now he's plays tenor saxophone. His name is Pavo Carey. And one of the alto saxophonists in there, great guy, also went on to play with Count Basie and done other things. His name is David Glasser. And a couple of trumpeters, Jim O'Connor, and was also in the video, and a couple of other, somebody else whose name escapes me for the moment. But yeah, I mean, we were doing this, man. You know, we were little kids just playing, and we had a foundation. They gave us, you know, something to do and, you know, something positive, and it was wonderful, man. You know, people still talk to me to this day about that. Yeah, I was like 17, I did that, you know.
Well, let me just share with people, too, that, first of all, Tony went to High School Music and Art, which is like the top high schools in the country for musicians. And he downplayed the McDonald's All-Star Band, and some of the top cats in the country that are musicians could get in there only. I mean, it was a real big deal as a kid to be in that band. I mean, these were really good guys. As you said, a bunch of guys that are still professional musicians. So
yes.
What did were you able to glean anything from Dizzy in that short time frame you worked with him? Like any kind of lesson?
Just keep your eye on him. That's the thing. And that's the thing. That's the one thing I learned, is that when you're working with somebody, up front, and whoever the front person is in the band, they may do anything at a moment's notice. And it's up to you to be open and aware of what they do, like people like playing with James Brown or Prince. They'll tell you, they could change a song in the middle, in the New York moment, man. They could just change up and give a different song on the list. And you got to be aware to do that. And you have to switch up, It's just a matter of being flexible. Or if they do something physical, they do a hit or they lift their leg up or something. Sometimes the drummer they want the drummer to hit that with them. Michael Jackson was known for that too. It's just what they call a shtick, something, to let them know, let the audience know, listen, we're here to be entertained, and for us as performers, we're going to do that for you.
Right. Yeah.
So that,
sorry, no, go ahead.
No, that was just it. I'm just saying that was the thing I learned from Dizzy. Just keep your eyes and your ears open on him.
Yeah.
Because he could change in a moment, in a heartbeat. And that helped me a lot because when I play with other people, I'm like, I watch what they do. I watch singers. They work something with their arm. They may stick their arm out, and they may want me to do a hit on the snare drum like that, Or they may do something with their foot. They may lift their foot up in the air like they're kicking, and they may want a hit. That's it's showbiz. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I interviewed a session guitarist, and he's a touring guitarist also out of L.A. and last week, and he was telling me the same thing. That he goes, a lot of times, people forget. They think you're a musician. We are entertainers.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a critical part of what we do. And he alluded to a similar situation like that. But having that awareness is what you got from Dizzy. How about B.B. King? I mean, the honor just to play with that guy.
I really didn't get a chance to really talk to him, but he was so nice and very friendly. What happened was we got a call with my buddy Michael Hill, and we were doing something for the Benson and Hedges Festival. It was like a in-house party celebration for the 81st birthday of John Lee Hooker.
Oh, cool! And
he was there. And Buddy Guy was jamming with us.
Wow!
In the band. So it's B.B. King, Buddy Guy. There's another guitarist who passed on. I think his name is John Campbell. He was amazing. Mm-hmm. And are you ready for this? Robert Klein, comedian,
the actor, really? Also the comedian,
also a Bronx dude.
Yeah. He
jammed with us on harmonica.
That's pretty funny. So B.B. King, Buddy Guy. Well, just to play with B.B. and Buddy, that's pretty. And that's like almost surreal, I would imagine. Yeah,
it was deep, man. And B.B. King was like, we were just jamming. We're just playing the blues and jamming. And he's like, okay, he's pointing at cats. Yo, take a solo, and we're just having fun, man. That was a great time.
When you heard BB's tone, what was that like? Like to watch this sound that you've probably heard hundreds of times.
But it's one thing to hear it. It's another thing to see the master actually execute it. And Michael Hill was also a disciple of B.B. King too, and we both were like, wow, are you seeing this? I know Mike was like right there, and it was just so amazing to see him do that. And same thing with Buddy Guy, man. We had to play really soft and a slow blues, man. And man, his tone and his energy, and both of them with their intention on their instrument, man. To watch that, man.
And anybody who
something to behold.
Anybody who's never heard of Michael Hill's Blues Mob, Tony was with them for how long?
Man, I was with them from the beginning, from like 87, basically until about 99. When we had a 3-record deal with Alligator Records, and Michael still is performing and doing things. He's still running around and touring and playing and stuff. So he's doing wonderful. He's doing fine. He plays in the city a lot, down in the Village, sometimes like at Terra Blues and places like that. you know. And then sometimes he'll go to Europe and do like blues master classes with other artists overseas, like in Germany and other parts of Europe and stuff.
That's awesome.
So
anybody who want to hear some good blues, if you never heard of the Michael Hill Blues Mob, check them out. Michael Hill's Blues Mob. They're really good. Those 3 records are amazing. I own all 3 from bottom when I came out. You can see Tony. Yeah, they were great records.
Thank you.
Vernon Reid.
Same thing. There was a poet named Sekou Sundiata, and Michael and I were in the band, and I met Vernon back in '84, man. And Michael and Vernon played guitars, and it was so scary to watch these guys. It's like, wow. It's like it was like
that's
the beginning of something that was amazing. Yeah. And again, we're friends and stuff, and you know, Vernon and I, we always see each other like, yo, hey, what's happening? You know, and these, you know, both of these guys are like serious scientists on their instruments, man, because I see them like we're just messing around at sound check or something, and I'm seeing them messing with their pedals and working with the guitars and trying to get different tones and listening to tunes and stuff. And it's like, you know, it's not just a clinic or whatever. It's a friendship, you know, and a sharing, you know, because, you know, like I said, some of the most amazing musicians on the planet happen to be friends of mine, and I'm thankful for that.
Sure. You were with Michael Hill's Blues Mob for 12 years. What's the biggest takeaway you got out of your experience in that band song?
Playing and watching the people's lives be transformed by watching this man perform, because he's a great guy, has a great spirit, he has a great heart, you know, and he really is a good guy. And when we would like go to places like Germany and Italy and we would play, and we would look out, and I would look out in the crowd, and I would see people, and people are just happy and smiling and dancing. You know, they have their family members that dancing, or if they're alone, or they having a little too much to drink, they're just shaking their tail feathers and just having a good time. I saw how music transforms people, and in fact, there was one time in Switzerland where a young lady came to our show, and you know, so we ended up talking afterwards, and and then she talked with Mike, and next thing you know, we talked, and I went away. I went to the hotel, and I slept, and I woke up the next morning, and you know, we moved on, and you know, and she met us at the hotel and gave all of us hugs, and we went on to the next town. And I said to Mike, "Hey, man, what happened? What happened to her?" You know, and he told me that she was going to commit suicide the night when she saw us the night before.
Holy crap.
Because she was going through so much pain and going through a breakup, and she wanted to end it. And she said, well, she saw our show, and it gave her hope, you know. And we had a friend, and she was friends with, we were friends with her for years, and I haven't been in touch with her for a while, but last I remember, she was on the verge of getting married, and she seemed a lot happier, and I hope that everything is going well with her. You know, that happened to me another time. I was in 1984. I was touring with an R&B group called Odyssey, and they had hits like Native New Yorker from New York. You know, and that was my first R&B tour in 1983 with them. I did 5 weeks in the UK. That was amazing. And
wait a minute, man, you were like 20. I was
21.
Wow,
I just turned 21, and the piano player heard me with another band, and you know, actually, it was a drummer, a friend of mine, a great drummer friend of mine named Greg Barrett, who played with Tom Brown after high school. And Greg, you know, he got me in the band with Odyssey, and the piano player happens to be a good friend of mine, Doug Booth. He was a musical director, and one thing led to another, and he said, "Yo, man, I love the way you play," and that was it. And we were just friends ever since. So Doug wanted me to play with them again with Odyssey in 1983, and I jumped on the chance to do it, and we went to the UK. And then the following year, we went back in '84, and I did a tour, and we, you know, in the UK, but it was different musicians at the time, but we had fun nonetheless. So I met a young lady there, and I forget her name, but she hung out. We just hung out. We were just really good friends. You know, we sat up and listened to R&B records and Richard Pryor and stuff, and we would eat like Greek food at this place in London at 4 a.m. and stuff. And And she was really cool, you know, and, you know, it was just like a good friendship. There was no other ulterior motive. Well, jump 5 years later, good buddy of mine, a great bass player named Damon Banks, he was on tour with another UK group called Loose Ends, and they were touring in London and throughout the UK. And this same woman came to to their show, and Damon told me this later, and he said, yo, man, he told me that this woman came up to him, and I guess she found out he was from New York, and she said, hey, do you know a drummer named Tony Lewis? And he goes, are you kidding? That's my best friend. Because Damon and I went to Music and Art together.
Oh, okay.
And so we have a long, long friendship. And she goes, yeah, I mean, I was looking for him. I really want to thank him again, because when we hung out, I wasn't feeling too good about myself, and I was going to end it. But we had a good friendship. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just never know what happens when you meet up with people, man. You don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally, yeah, very true. And that little kindness that you give can make all the shift in the world for someone at a given point in time.
Exactly. Exactly my point. Exactly.
Now, I remember running into you when you were with Michael Hill's Blues Mob. It was like I was early in my relationship with my wife, so it was probably early to mid-'90s at some club in the Village, right? Is that...
Terror Blues.
Is that where you're playing? Yeah, I remember that.
That was our residence, man. We would play there like once a month or something, man. And we were like, you know, that was our spot. They wanted to hear us. That was where they would go. They would come down to see us over there at Terror Blues.
So many of those
clubs
are gone. But that's one of the few. So many are gone, man. Down in the Village.
Bitter End is still there next door.
Mm-hmm. Bottom line is gone. Bottom Line is gone, I think.
Yeah, Bottom Line is gone. CBGB's is gone. And that was our first gig back in 87.
Was it really?
Yeah, and the sound was like always ridiculously slamming in there. Wow. You know? No matter what happened, we always sounded great in there. It was always fun to play. And it was crazy. It was a you know, not the most appealing place, but man, when you walk in, but the sound was always killing, you know? So it was always fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are some good places to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. And the scene was different there, too. There was so much, the culture and everything else, you know. It was more dangerous and greasier, if you might.
Yeah, totally.
But that's what made it, like, beautiful at the same time, man. You know, it's become so antiseptic down there, even like 42nd Street, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Disney took over, and, you know, and it's just a whole nother thing. Now, 2 years ago, I was in Sao Paulo, and I was playing down there for about a week, and it was a throwback to New York. I was like, man, this is so much fun. In fact, you know, I was down there with Ty. You know, we were doing not Ty, but the band. We were down there doing some stuff. So we were playing with a friend of ours, and we were doing online concerts and performances and stuff. And man, it was just a lot of fun, man. But being down in there and in Sao Paulo and being in that element, with the graffiti on the walls and on some of the shops, you know, when they pull down the metal.
Oh, the bars at night?
Yes. Yeah. I felt like it was 1990 all over again. I mean, this I'm talking about 2015.
Yeah.
Okay? It was really wild, man. But I enjoyed it. I had fun.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, but
Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, but just New York has changed so much. Much, man.
It has. And the last couple of times I've been there, it's just been like a little disappointing because, like, you know, I used to spend hours just walking up Bleecker Street and, you know, walking around the Village, and it's just not, not what it used to be.
Yeah, it's become trendy, and, you know, all these restaurants are built up in these other places where there's so much other stuff happening, man, you know. And plus, stuff has become so much more expensive, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Crazy expensive, and it's just a little antiseptic, you know.
That too. Absolutely.
Even cool, like, T-shirt shops that, like, man, I used to get a pizza box and, you know, T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gone, man. Anyway, I had a question here, but I want to ask you another question before it. When I interview a lot of musicians in Nashville, and I think the scene in Nashville is a little different. So let me explain. You probably know, but in Nashville, you're either a studio musician or you're a touring musician. It's very rare that the guys that play on the records are also on tour. But I'm getting from you in the earlier conversation we had and some of the stuff we've been going back and forth with, that it's not like that in New York.
No, I think in New York, some of that does prevail, where they have other cats on the tracks and they'll have a live band. But I think for the most part, there seems to be more of a solidarity, depending on the situation, where it's like, well, these guys were with me when I didn't have a dime, so these are the guys that I want to record with. These are the guys I'm going to tour with. So There is that, And again, that it depends on the artist or artists,
Yeah, that's I think in it seems like in New York it's more of even if it's an artist or you're supporting, quote, an artist, it's a group. As opposed to in Nashville, it's like the artist is the artist and the record company supports the artist, period, and the musicians are sort of secondary. Because the question I had was based on that, and I'm realizing it's not really a relevant question. So I'll ask you this. You've traveled all over the world. I mean, literally all over the world so many times. Is there what would be your favorite place or places and why?
Oh, I got a few. Like I said, I love Brazil. I love the food, the culture, the scenery, the people, the spirit, Another place I love is Japan.
Interesting.
I love Japan.
What do you like about
Japan?
that?
I love Japan because everything works in Japan. And by that, I mean, I would play at the Blue Note with Sam Moore, and then, late at night, I would travel and I'm thirsty or something. They have a 7-Eleven out there, but sometimes if I don't want that, if I just want a can of apples juice or something, they have the vending machines right there on the street, and they change them every day, or every other day.
So it's order. It's not chaos. It's not like you can put that stuff in New York City. That would be busted into and stolen, and
it wouldn't be there.
Yeah, right.
Depending on the location.
Sure, absolutely.
So for that, so Brazil, Japan. Another place I just went to that I really enjoyed was Dublin. I enjoyed Ireland. I loved it.
I hear that so much. Why do you like it? I hear that often.
Again, the spirit of the people. It's not antiseptic. People are real. They're people just hanging out. There's different foods. The food, the spirit, the clubs. There were even people performing outside the buskers, in some of the shopping mall areas and stuff. And people are very cool and friendly and kind.
That's
I
nice.
enjoyed that. Dublin is another one of my favorite places. Another place I enjoy going to is South Korea, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Busan, South Korea. Again, had a great time there. Wonderful people, great food. Australia, Cairns by the Great Barrier Reef. That's a lot of fun. I enjoyed being there. Sydney was also a great place, and Melbourne. Let's see. Canada, Toronto. My wife and I, we go up there for our wedding. For our wedding anniversary, we go up there. We just hang out and just have a wonderful time up there too. Vancouver, another beautiful place. Great spirit.
That's Western Canada, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Western. Yep. And I just remember being there with Cyndi Lauper, and just the people. They were just very friendly. Like, hi, how you doing? I'm like, and I didn't say anything. Like, oh, okay.
Because you're used to New York. Someone says, how you doing? It's like, okay, what's the setup?
Yeah, what do you want? Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
this is cool, man. This is very cool. So those are my favorite places, man.
Cyndi Lauper, I should have asked you about her. What was your experience with her like? She's been around the block, and she's a very talented, artist and writer and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, you got to be on your toes working with her, It's just, hey, I just had we had fun, we did the shows, we did Letterman. I did Letterman with her. I done,
Was it freezing on stage there? That's what everybody tells me.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was, Chief. Yeah, it was freezing. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely was. So, yeah, I mean, working with her, again, a lot of music and a lot of information, learning about her, and she's amazing, man.
A lot of energy.
Amazing. Yeah. Absolutely. So that was fun. Did the Today Show with her, and I got a recording of it somewhere, and I put it up on Facebook, and it was, and what's funny about that, because she said, okay, well, listen, Tone, we have this show we're doing, we're going to be on the Today Show, and I'm like, oh man, ironically, I had a gig that night up in Toronto with Michael Hill.
Oh, wow.
So she said, so the manager said, look, don't worry about it, Tone. Our show is in the morning. We will get you on a flight up to Toronto.
Very cool.
Like, I said, okay, bet. And the funny thing was, like, with Michael and them, they were driving up, but they got me a round trip ticket. I'm like, I'm like, I was like Homer Simpson, like, so long, suckers. And said, I'll meet you guys up there and whatnot. So that was fun. Man. Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time, and so we did the show. And ironically, for the Today Show, Richie Havens was on too, and so I got a chance to meet him. And he was so cool. So he did his segment first, and then we did our show. Because he just had his guitar, but we had the band with us.
What was he like?
He was just very nice, very, very, very nice, man. You know what I mean? God bless him, man. Very nice man.
That's awesome.
Serious icon, man. Serious, man. So, yeah, that was cool.
It's hard to not think about his Woodstock. Every time you hear his name, it's hard not to think about that performance.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. That was him.
Yeah, he sang Freedom. That was real good.
Right.
I thought about this question, and, when we were kids, most of the time, I think with a few exceptions, we hung out, it was music related. And I was wondering, I didn't know the answer to this. Like, what was your childhood like growing up?
Oh, my childhood was fine. I mean, luckily I've been blessed to have both of my parents here, and their mission was to make sure that the three of us, my brother, my sister, and I, were okay. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, when I think about it, it's, we didn't have much, but what we had was a lot. My parents, they would take us out. We would go out on weekends, and we would go to plays, we would go to movies, and we would do a lot of that, just family stuff. You know what I mean?
That's
we would travel to see my relatives upstate, like on Sundays, and we'd drive down. And I remember this is really crazy, but I remember when I was like 6 or 7 when the Big Mac came out, and I had to have one, and I cried because I couldn't fit the whole thing in my mouth. I couldn't eat it all. But now when I think about it, thinking as a Big Mac now, I'm like, nah, I don't need to have that.
Not so much. Yeah, I hear you.
I don't need to have that. It's okay. But back then, the way food was created back then, it was less synthetically, compromised.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, man.
So, but it was, but like I said, my memories, and the fun times that I had with my family, it's made me a better person.
Very cool,
because it's made me who I am now. They've definitely had an influence on me. Plus, coupled with that, plus my personal experiences, going through this life. It's like, okay, and I think about my parents. I use them as a reference point for the hard work and that they did. I mean, Dad worked for transit, my mom worked for the hospitals,
mm-hmm.
and they made their money. They came home and did what they had to do.
Sure.
That's keep us aligned at the same time. It's like, and luckily for us, we weren't too crazy or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We were very lucky. Very lucky.
That's like very typical, like, your dad worked for transit, mom that worked for the hospitals. That's such a very stereotypical, like, New York family.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So did they turn you on to music, and like, how did you get turned on to music and then drums specifically? And what prompted you to go with drums instead of, guitar, bass, keyboards?
Funny you mentioned that. Well, back then, our parents were artistically inclined. I mean, my mom sang a little bit,
I didn't know
and
this.
believe it or not, my dad played drums too.
Oh.
But I don't think he could have put up with the craziness in this business and try to keep a family together.
Sure.
So, And it was so that's another story. But for myself, what happened was I have a cousin upstate, and he still lives up there, in fact, and he had a drum kit, and so like on the weekends, Dad and Mom, all of us, we jump in the car, we go upstate, and I'd run past everybody. I go right up to his room, and he had a guitar and different things, and I just saw the drums there, and I just said, okay, let's just see what can happen here, and I just started playing it.
Wow, I didn't know. That's so cool, man.
You know what I mean? It was just like one of those things. My cousin, and he comes to my shows, and I always tell him I'm always grateful to you for having that drum kit there, because that has saved my life.
Yeah.
I tell him that, and he's like, hey, man, I'm just glad, I'm just glad.
Did you always know, because like musically, I always felt you were very focused. Like, I remember even like when we'd play in little practices, you were always sort of running it. You were the guy that was like, you just knew what to do. And did you always know that, that you wanted to be a professional musician? You always were so together and so, well organized about that stuff.
I got you fooled too, huh?
You do. But even like, okay, but I remember specifically, and we were young kids, man, and you were like telling people what chord changes to make and at a young age.
Well, that came because of, like I was telling you in our pre-interview conversation, there was a great guitarist named Ron Pacow, and he also was a Co-op City resident. And when I first got into music and art, I would see the older students, man, they're reading out the jazz fake books, and I'm looking at the books, and I'm seeing like Giant Steps or Naima in the book, but they would have the melody, and it just happens one time, and I didn't understand what it meant to read those changes. I didn't understand it. So Ron helped me a lot with that. And I think because of that, it developed my sense of understanding like theory and harmony and stuff, and when I first got into music and art, I'm gonna tell you, man, I was a mess. I mean, I kept acting a fool or whatever, but I thought about it. I said, look, if I don't get, but if I don't get my act together, man, I'm going to be out of here. And I couldn't face my parents to tell them that. So I got my act together and just started applying myself,
Right.
And doing the theory, doing the homework, and hanging out with the guys who were more well-versed than I was,
Sure.
Just learning from the masters,
That's interesting.
So, yeah. Yeah,
you were always you were always the leader, Was there ever like a holy shit moment for you? Meaning like you suddenly realized after you got out of school, or probably while you were in school, that holy shit, I'm actually doing this, and I can get paid for it, and the universe, I've found my place in the universe.
The funny thing was when I passed the entrance examination of music and art, that was my point. I said, oh yeah, okay, yes, this is what I was meant to do, And then I think playing that moment with Dizzy was a high for me. Doing the Merv Griffin show and doing the Newport Jazz Festival with him, that was a high.
Wow.
I was like, okay, yeah. But then I think when I did the tour like a couple of years later with Odyssey, going to the UK, I said, wow, I can make some money doing this.
Right.
I knew I was kind of gigging and doing stuff, but not really, It wasn't until basically when I turned 21 that I was like, okay, yeah, I can actually make a living doing this.
Right.
Right. And I'm going to have fun, And I think one of my happiest moments was in 85. I always wanted to go to Japan because even in high school, I kept hearing about all these amazing musicians going out there and all these wonderful things happening for them, making connections and stuff. And I'm like, I want to go to Japan. And 5 years later, in 85, I ended up getting a tour with the Boys Choir of Harlem. And their drummer pulled out because he had other stuff to do. But that was my first time for like 3 weeks. We went down south and we went to Jamaica. Wow. And that was my first time being in Kingston, Jamaica. So that was amazing.
That is so cool.
And And on the way back, you know, we were traveling, and there was rumors. I was hearing rumors on the tour bus. Yeah, man, this Japan thing is happening. This Japan thing's happening. And I'm hearing Japan. I'm hearing that. I'm like, really? And I told the musical director, I said, dude, I want to be on that gig. I'm going to Japan. And they said, well, as far as they were concerned, this gig was mine. So you're going to Japan.
Awesome.
Man, I was so happy. When I went to Japan the first time, blew my mind, man. You know?
It was everything you thought it would be.
And then some.
Great.
And then some. You know, hung out with some of the people I want to hang with, and, you know, making some business connections on my own, and, you know, not really having a care in the world. And even then I was still playing the at the arcade machines. I'm riding the motorcycles and stuff, man. And, you know, I mean, and that was the first time that I had celebrated my birthday outside of the United States. I turned 23 at the time. And we were at a restaurant, and the choir, the boys, they got up and sang happy birthday to me. And, you know, they gave me some cake, and they, you know, nice little gesture, man. I was impressed.
Yeah,
I was not impressed, but more importantly, I was happy. That I was really happy. That was very cool of them to do that.
That's great, man.
Yeah, that was cool. And 3 weeks of traveling to like 5 different cities and riding the bullet trains, and I'm like, wow, this is a fast train, man. You know what I mean? It was like, wow. So
that sounds like an awesome memory.
It was. You know, another time, even as I was older, in 1994, I was in Sevilla, Spain, with Martika, and we were playing this World Music Festival, and there's a Sony Jumbotron screen behind us, and we're playing, and it was a warm April night, and it was a full moon, and man, and the way I felt that night with everything going on, I just said, man, this was so beautiful. This was beautiful, you know, and, you know, just those special moments like that, man, we just feel like, oh man, you know, I know I'm doing the right thing. I know that.
That's really cool story, man. I appreciate you sharing that and those memories.
Yeah, man.
Sound nice.
It's about following your path. When you know, following your path, every one of us has it, you know, and if you allow yourself to follow that, you know, especially if it's something positive, then yeah, you know, it would behoove you to stay in the path, stay in your lane, as they say, and don't fight it.
Stay in your lane. I like that.
Yeah, we are all here. We're all servants, whether we want to look at it that way or not. Because you're serving right now by interviewing me. You're serving. You know, because, you know, by doing what you're doing here, everybody knows. Okay, hey man, there's some advice that I could use, and something that somebody could hear, you know, somebody needs to hear.
Yeah. And
what I'm doing with what I do, I mean, you know, like I said, a couple of times now, there have been people that were about to check out of here. And by serving, by the talents that I have, you know, whatever I have to share with people, you know, that's part of serving, you know, and it comes back. It comes back, man. So we all are servants if we can get on that train and understand that, you know, and that's not egoic. I'm just saying, you know. No,
there's nothing egotistical about that at all.
You know, but
quite the contrary, actually.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
quite the contrary, actually.
But that's what we're here. We're all here to serve, man. You know, that's why I love that Bob Dylan tune.
Gotta serve somebody. Yeah,
I love that tune.
I was just thinking that. There you go, man.
Man.
Great minds. Hey, you know, this is probably a silly question, but I've always wanted to ask this to an experienced drummer. Is like, do you guys do some exercise? How do you do that night after night, or is that your exercise? I mean, you have a very physically demanding, and not only that, you got to lug more shit in and out. You know, I mean, it's just like you got more of it. It's like more responsibility. I mean, is there any physical stuff that, like, secret drum physical exercises you do? Because you've been doing this a long time.
Well, here's the thing, man. That's like twofold, because one thing, you can play your instrument, you play this amazing instrument, and definitely keeping in shape helps. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am not, you know, a poster child for, you know, for Planet Fitness or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, I'm not a poster child for Jenny Craig either.
Yes,
so, you know, but the point is that it's one thing to physically manifest yourself on this instrument, but then it's another thing, man, to have to lift this stuff each and every night.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I know this sounds crazy and people may be upset, but that's okay. I don't mind lifting my equipment. I mean, if there's a roadie there, well, sure, great. If there are people that help, great. But like a lot of times, you know, you're on your own. So a lot of times with the hardware that I have with my equipment is a lot lighter, you know, and I got that because I am not breaking my back trying to get to a gig and hurting myself in the process.
Sure.
I think there's an other side of just taking care of yourself outside of playing your instrument, like going to the gym or exercising or working out. And then there's the other side of manifesting on your instrument, like practicing, you know, practicing your rudiments or working on stuff that you haven't worked on before that could be challenging to you, because that's when you really get into working on who you are. If you're just playing stuff that you already know, there's not really much you're going to get out of that.
Yeah, there's
you already
not a lot of growth. Yeah.
Exactly. But, you know, so that's more like a threefold question. You know, it's like just taking care of yourself on your instrument, taking care of yourself away from your instrument, and then practicing the rudiments or different ideas or concepts, you know.
Totally.
So those things help. Yeah.
Everybody, we all pay tuition in our careers, and I was wondering if you'd be kind enough to share a couple of mistakes you might have made along the way on your journey, and what were the lessons that you learned from that?
The one thing, there are three things, man. And my father was a drummer. I'm not a professional drummer, but he liked to play drums. And I think through his personal experiences, there were three things he said to me. He said, learn to play all styles of music, learn to read, and put some money away. Okay? And those are the things that I learned. You know what I mean? And I know if you're lucky enough, if you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where if you're with your parents or, you know, and you don't have to pay a lot, or if you're working out with them, then, you know, somehow put some money away, you know, if you can, you know. Even if you're making the big bucks, you're definitely going to put money away. Yeah. You know what I mean? But for those of us who may not be as fortunate to always get those big gigs, you know, just trying to put a little bit of money away when you can, because it makes a big difference down the line.
Sure.
You know, so those are the things that I learned, you know.
Yeah.
I would say that to everybody and anybody, you know, just learn to play all styles, man. You know, even if it's stuff that you think that you're like, oh my God, I would never play this stuff. Yeah, but you know what? Again, this is what I mean about service. By playing those songs for somebody else, you're making someone else happy.
Sure.
You're giving someone else joy. And a lot of times they want to pay you for that joy. They want to reward you with that joy.
Sure.
So as a result, and then they may reward you by saying, you know, here's some money for that. Would you mind doing this again for some other friends of mine? And, you know, that's how it begins. You know, as simplistic as that might sound, yeah. And learn to read too, because, you know, again, I was listening to these records, and like some of my major influences, you know, some of these guys didn't read, but some of them did. And for those who did, man, when you listen to the record, you're like, my God, depending on what it is, how did they do that? Some of the stuff may be very intricate. And you'll wonder, well, how did they do that? Well, they must have had some kind of knowledge of reading and going over the music many times so that it became natural, you know? So learning to read also helps, you know?
The guys I have interviewed that have had careers like you've had, where they've been in so many things and just been hung, you know, you hang around getting paid as a professional musician for 40 years. That in and of itself, if nothing else is said, is a major accomplishment. And a lot of the people that I've spoke to who are in that category have said the same thing, as far as, you know, I was very young. I got lucky. Someone told me to learn all styles of music. And it saved me. And exactly what you said, they get invited to, you know, not only to get your one gig, but they say, hey, you know, a buddy of mine has this. Can you do this for him? So it's like, you know, like you reap what you sow, basically, you know?
Yeah.
Talk about styles. Is there, like a particular style of music you enjoy personally playing more than the others? Because you are really diverse, and you've always been that way, as far as I know.
I just like something that just makes you shake your tail feather.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If it feels good to you, man, it could be a blues shuffle, a Motown groove, you know, R&B groove, something, that just, that's what works for me, So those are the things that get me,
You get a lot out of the vibe of your audience then.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I just watch them sometimes, even though I'm looking down at my kit and thinking, okay, what are we going to do next? At the same time, I come up for air and I just watch the people and just checking them out and saying, okay, all right, just to get an idea, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
What's something that you learned about yourself along this journey?
That I'm not perfect.
I hear
and
that.
And that, I learned to forgive myself.
Man, that's such an important thing.
Yeah.
It's
forgive myself.
Yeah.
Something might come out of, I may say something that I can't take back, or I may do something, or I may play something, or sometimes it may not have anything to do with music, but I learned that, that I have to live with me every day.
Yeah.
And we hurt ourselves more than anybody else.
Very true.
So the thing is, you have to live I have to live with myself every day, just like you have to live with yourself. And the thing is that, to forgive yourself, learn the lesson and move on and continue to move forward.
And it's hard to be in the present unless you can forgive yourself, because you spend too much time up in your head thinking about what happened or what could have happened or what did happen. And man, it's not a good exercise to do that.
There's a great book that I don't know if you're aware about. This guy named Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now.
I have it in my closet. I've not read it.
Man, I'm going to tell you, I mean, that's a deep cat, man, Eckhart Tolle. But The Power of Now really helped me to understand about, look, you can't worry about stuff that already happened, and you can't concern yourself that stuff that will happen in the future, because it will always be that in the future until the moment presents itself. Right. Then it becomes the now, And this moment right now that you and I are sharing, this is all we have, man.
Correct, man.
You know what I mean?
Correct. And
what's done is done, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Well, here's the good news. I'm enjoying the shit out of this, so...
Say what?
I said I'm enjoying the shit out of this moment. So.
Same here, man. I mean, no matter, despite whatever else is going on, man, if you're able to enjoy right now what you have, wherever you are, if you're able to do that, then that will help you for right now.
Yes.
And it could also help you for the future, because, when that future becomes the now, you also know how to handle it,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, people always say, well, what are you doing now? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? It's like, well, I'll tell you when I get there.
Yes.
I remember one time somebody said, hey, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And I say, well, I'll tell you when I get there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's it's a tough. I agree with you. It kind of puts pressure on you in a sense. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be like planning or you shouldn't be like smart, but that's a lot of pressure in a sense too, I think.
Yes.
I don't like pressure. As I've gotten older, I've really I don't know, most of the decisions I make now, I think the first thing is, okay, which of these options A, B, C, D is the least amount of stress? And to be honest with you, I just default to that one.
Right.
And it's just I don't want any stress. I just don't want to deal with it, man.
We don't understand how powerful stress can be, man. I mean, it really is important to really pay attention. Now and then I ask myself, where are you right now? Because sometimes I could go thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff, and I don't have to do that.
Yes.
No, where are you right now? I ask myself that every now and then. When I find myself, causing my own stress and, and whatever, so.
I'm with you on that, man. I talk to myself once in a while too.
It helps, man. It helps. It's like, it's amazing to be able to have that opportunity to consult with yourself about stuff, Well,
like if
you're open about it. Yeah.
If I'm like thinking negative shit is when I'll say, Craig, listen, what's really happening now? Do you have to, and I just like talk. It's like, it sounds silly, but it works for me anyway. It's like, I just don't want to deal with negative. I don't want to deal with stress. And not that I avoid issues at all. I'm quite the opposite, but I want to handle things practically, sort of,
Yes, it helps. It helps. Saves you a lot of stress.
Hey, who are your biggest influences drum-wise?
Oh, God. There are so many. And it also depends on the situation, too. I mean, I have so many, man. And it depends on the situation and the mood of what I'm going through.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I first started playing drums, I had what I called my Super Six. And that was Billy Cobham, Harvey Mason, Lenny White, Steve Gadd, Bernard Purdy, and Cozy Cole. A lot of people don't talk about Cozy Cole, but he was like one of the few drummers that actually have like a number, almost like a top 10 hit called Topsy, back in the early 60s,
Who did he play with?
Well,
just a solo cat.
He played a lot with Ella.
Okay.
Did a lot of work with Ella and different people, Louis Armstrong. There's a movie called The Glenn Miller Story.
Okay.
And there's a scene where they're in Harlem and Cozy Cole is playing and Gene Krupa sat in with him, and both of them are together making music and just jamming on a kit. That was a jaw-dropping moment, even though it's a movie and stuff.
Sure.
So, but the point is that to see these two gentlemen that play the same instrument and an instrument that I love, and to see them just having fun and showing that they come from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
To me, that says, it's like, hey, man, we all can get together. We all can create music together. We can have fun in the process. So those six were my first ones when I started. But then I went through my dad's collection and I realized, my dad had a lot of music of the masters. So then I started going back and listening to the masters. And there's Max Roach, Art Blakey.
I love Art Blakey, man.
Yes, absolutely. A major force, man. Philly Joe Jones, who played with Miles and did his own thing. And there's also Papa Joe, who played with Count Basie. There's Elvin Jones, of course, and Roy Haynes. God bless him. He's still alive and he's still playing.
Really?
In his 90s, yes.
That's
Roy
awesome,
Haynes.
man.
You know what I mean? In fact, I'm playing a gig this Sunday with one of his sons that plays trumpet, Graham Haynes. I think we're doing something together in Chinatown. And so those were like the other people that I grew up listening to. And then, other people, the more music I was listening to, I started listening to other musicians and other drummers and stuff. And like I said, depends on the situation. Like if I'm playing like a disco groove, I think of Earl Young from the MFSB sessions and Charles Collins, that whole Philly crew. And then sometimes I think of Al Jackson Jr. with MGs and Sam. When I played with Sam Moore, I wanted to do my best to honor those guys.
Right.
A lot of the studio musicians, like in the 70s, Buddy Williams and Steve Jordan and people like that who also kind of both of them went to music and art too. Now I think about
it. Wow.
And then and then just other drummers and Omar Hakim and Kenny Washington and these guys went to music.
He was a music and art. Kenny Washington. Yeah, I remember that name.
Yes,
yeah.
And he was
he a Bronx guy? Was he a Bronx guy?
Staten Island.
Okay, I remember. I don't know why I know his name.
Yeah, well, Kenny Washington played drums with so many people, but he also they call him the jazz maniac. And I got to tell you, I never liked that because you're not a maniac, but he definitely knows his stuff about jazz, no question. In fact, when I went to college, I wanted to do a piece. I had to do a report on Miles, and he was the guy to help me, man. I recorded our conversation, like, this is talking about 1980. So I had to
Radio Shack tape deck.
Yep. And I had to connect,
Cassette
and I had to connect the jack to the back of the phone
with a plug, the suction,
recorder.
the suction.
Yep,
Yeah.
And I had to do that so I could hear him. Dude,
I remember that.
He talked for 90 minutes straight. I had to get another cassette, man. He gave me so much information. I was like, oh my God, you know.
That's awesome.
You know, I think I got an A on that, or A- or something, you know. But yeah, so you know, these guys were like amazing musicians. When I went to Music and Art, there were 3 drummers. There was Omar, who was playing. You know, everybody knew him. He was a fantastic. You know, he played all styles. And then there was Kenny Washington. He really was a jazz snob. He just only wanted to play jazz, but don't get it twisted. He could play some funk too, and killing, you know. And there was another drummer named Craig Stewart, who was more like an R&B drummer. And these 3 guys had such distinct styles and they were all in the different jazz bands. So sometimes when I'd walk down the hall towards the jazz band to listen to the guys, I could tell who was playing, you know, because they had their own concept, and it was amazing. And they all 3 of those guys were instrumental in helping me, you know, in their own way, you know. And so, you know, and then like a lot of my friends and cats that were coming in behind me, the Music and Art, there were just amazing drummers too that are doing well now, like Larry Aberman and Charlie Drayton and Zach Alford, and you know, these guys, you know, Sterling Campbell.
Okay, hey man, you got married not too long ago. You're still a newlywed. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir. That was a year ago. Yep.
And again, we talked earlier. I'm so happy for all the, you know, the positive stuff going on with that. But
thank you.
Has that changed your outlook on life, or, you know, on your career in any way?
The amazing thing about that is, like we discussed earlier, is that if you're fortunate enough to marry someone who's your friend first, not somebody that, you know, that you might look at as a, you know, for a particular part or particular talent, if you will, you'll find that if you guys are really friends, if the 2 of you are really, really friends, that helps a lot, because then you can communicate about anything, you know. And then even after all of that, if there's still like love there, and you feel like, hey, you know, we can do something together, then God bless you. You know, you know what I mean? It's for me. Yeah, it's nice to know that I have a partner, and in a real sense of the word. I mean, any woman that tells you, you know what, you don't have enough drums, let's get some more drums for you, and showing you, and is willing to work with you. Like, look, we could work this out. Somebody who's willing to do that with you, do not let them go. Or if you find a man that's willing to say, listen, and if you're friends, it's like, look, you know, with your instrument, I'm willing to help you in the best way I can to support you, because this is what you do. And you know what? This is what makes you happy. Don't let that person go.
Yeah, that's a very fortunate situation. I'm really happy for you, man. And I had a question that was it scary getting married after being single for so long, but it sounded like you just, you know, you knew you were in the right place, and it really wasn't.
Dude, it felt like a flow.
Awesome.
Seriously, because it was just like, okay, we were friends, and I don't mind saying this, because she'll tell you the same thing. I mean, we were hanging for a while, and I broke it off. I pushed her away because I wasn't ready, because I was still wrapped up in some feelings about my past. And I realized, I said, those people are no longer in my life, you know? And there was a long history there, but they don't matter now, because you're here and you show me in different ways what life could be like when somebody's in your corner. So because of that and everything that we went through, it didn't seem like it was a big deal to get married. It's like, even now, I'm like, oh, we're married. Okay, cool. It's not like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Oh my God. No, please stop with that. I mean, it's great. Yes, it's great to have that euphoria about your partner. Absolutely. But don't get it twisted where, you know, you're feeling like you're like on a cloud, and every time I walk in, you're throwing roses and whatnot. No, because there are going to be some days you don't want to deal with that, you know. But the point is that, you know, if you really have your friend, you know, that can help you through some amazing times, you know, man, don't let that person go. You know, I mean, my father just passed, and, you know, the thing about it, she discovered him because, you know, we were here looking after him, and I had to go to France, and, you know, I made sure my dad saw me before I left, I looked him in the eye and said, "Listen, Dad, I'm going away for a couple of days. I'll be back." And in that time, he passed. And she called me, and I said, "Okay." And I understood it because my dad was going through some, pain and, some health issues and stuff. And, he didn't want to deal with this anymore, and I don't blame him. So the fact is that my wife was here helping to facilitate a lot of that stuff, making the phone calls, helping me clean out the apartment and stuff and doing this stuff. I mean, it's like she's just been on it, man.
Yeah.
And that's a friend. She's not doing it just because she's my wife and my partner. No, she's doing this because she's my friend and to help out. And my father loved her too, So that's what I mean by, we both, Craig, you and I are both blessed that we have people in our lives like that. Our friends.
Yeah.
Our friends that also happen to be our wives.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
And, we do anything for.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And if, for the people, for people out there, if you're lucky enough to have somebody like that, man, that supports you and you can support them and your friends first and able to communicate about anything, and I mean anything, then you know what? You may not want to let that person go. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell no.
So, so that's important. But yeah.
This is a tough question probably for you because I don't even know if you've even ever thought of this. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I believe
don't know.
That. Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this for 45 years, and it's not like I haven't really thought about anything else, but I haven't. I mean, this is what I'm doing. I mean, people, I see people that, have their civil service jobs or even in music. They're like, look, I'm going to do this for a little while and then I'm going to retire. And I'm saying to myself, retired or what? Man, I've been blessed with this talent. I've been grateful and thankful to do what I can do, and people like what I do. Man, like they say, I'm going to do this until the wheels fall off, man.
Good.
Because this is what I'm doing. This is what I was born to do. This is what I'm born to do, man. I'm not going to stop playing, at least, or retire. Please. You know what? Please, man. I'll retire I won't retire, but I'll take vacations and do stuff. But that's not really stepping away from the business. I mean,
sure.
sometimes people do that, and I get that. You may step away, get a different perspective, or you just, depending on your experience or what happened, you're like, nah, I don't want to go back to that. But I'm like, for me, like I said, yeah, I've had my ups and downs in this business. However, considering what has gotten me thus far in my life, there's no way that I would stop the blessings and the things that happened that got me to this point.
Sure.
So to answer your question, I don't know, man. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't doing music. And to be honest with you, I don't want to find out.
And I hope you don't have to think about that.
Exactly.
I'm pretty confident you won't.
I'm just keep doing what I do, man. Keep doing this.
Back to your dad for a second. I know he passed, man, and I'm so sorry, and we spent quite a bit of time talking about that. But what was the most important thing he taught you?
Those basic things. Like I said, well, with music, it was those basic things. I think the other thing he showed me, the thing he showed me by example was, just to be in your truth about stuff. I mean, my dad was a strong guy and, strong as an ox and twice as stubborn, I say. But people in the building, they mean at the funeral, people, crying and talking about it. I'm like, hey, it's a celebration of life. What are you talking about? I mean, I have no regrets because I spent the last few years with him, and it wasn't just about father and son. We were like roommates, and we were friends, man.
Yeah.
And he would come to my gigs, and the people who I would perform with, they were like, oh, this is your father. Or if I brought my mother to the gig, and people are so amazed because they would say, oh, your son, we love him. And, and it's a blessing, so that my parents could witness what they've done for me.
Right.
You know, and how it comes back to them as a reflection of who they are.
Yeah. That was probably really nice.
What I mean?
Yeah. That was probably really nice for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that's the thing with my dad, he would just go to work, come home, stay out of people's business, do the family thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Take care of his family. Keep the lights on and, and go to work, and if the kids, if we were doing the right thing around the house and not messing around, and he would reward us,
Were you the oldest, or was your brother and sister older than you? What was
my brother is 5 years older. My sister, who passed in 2006, she was 4 years older.
So you were the baby.
And there's me.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
There's me.
How about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you?
That I was going to be a man one day and to be responsible for myself. She always used to tell me that. I always remembered that. You're going to be a man one day. You got to be responsible and do the right thing. I said, yeah, you're right, Mom. And in fact, we talked about that last week, in fact.
You and your mom? That's cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, and my mom and I, and we're tight. It's like my mom and I, for the last few years of our lives, we crack up so many jokes with each other. It's like a game of, okay, who's going to pee in their pants first, you or me?
That's great, man.
And I mean, so
it's nice to
my
hear
parents, my parents, my like I said, my dad and I, we just hung out and had fun. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And with my mom, we always have a lot of snaps. Even now, it's like, even with everything that she's dealing with, it's like, look, Ma, it's okay. It's okay. I'm here, and I make you laugh. I'll put a smile on your face, and it's okay.
That's nice.
You know what I mean? And
is your brother in town too, or where's he?
Yeah, he's here in the Bronx too with his wife and his family. Not too far.
Good.
And he has the bond too with my parents. You know what I mean?
Great.
So I mean, and my brother and I, we're cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Never, no issues or anything like that.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I mean, we've been, it's been a blessing, man. For my brother and I. You know what I mean? We work together to make things happen, even for the situation with my father's transition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and between that and my wife Gina, she's, man,
man, I'm telling you, I'm so happy that you're like in this spot, because, I know you and your history, and it's like really nice to see you like content like this.
Yeah. It's so funny, man. I mean, I'm like, hey, it's just a natural flow with her, it's just like, okay, this is my wife. This is my friend. We hang out, we do stuff together. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, and like, even like when we go away, it's like, okay, well, hey, we work it out. I'm like, okay, I'll take care of the hotel and the airfare. Okay, you take care of the car and the meals, or we split stuff up, man. I mean, it's really, it's like with your homies, you're hanging out and you're like, okay, man. All right, look, I got the first round. Okay, Craig, you got the next round.
Yeah.
And, by the 15th round, we're too drunk to figure out who is
it doesn't matter
paying for what, Well, we're gonna leave our cars here and split a cab,
Yeah, man.
Even though our house is across the street. we drove over here, man. But it's all good, though. Yeah.
Hey, what's your non-musical superpower?
Be nice to people.
I would agree with that.
Because just to be nice to people. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to be treated like crap, well, one of my favorite sayings from another book: argue for your limitations, but they will become yours.
Yeah. You want to hear a real good expression? A guy told me yesterday. He said, a musician, he said, be careful of the toes you step on today. They may be attached to the ass you need to kiss tomorrow.
I've heard that. Yes. I've heard that.
Yeah,
and
that was
so right.
Yeah, that was pretty smart.
Right.
That was pretty smart.
I mean, there was a guy one time, and he was like a real jerk, and he and then when I got in the club and he saw me play, he's like, oh my God, this guy played at my daughter's wedding. He came up to me and said, I'm so sorry. And I told him, yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm only kidding. I said, yo, man, people go through stuff all the time, man. But the thing is that, it just helps to just think for a second. I know your emotions can get the best of you in certain situations at certain times, but man, cooler heads prevail. Like you said, you got to talk to yourself.
Yeah. And when you're nice, man, it's just a lot less stress involved.
The world is an oyster. I found that, and that that's one of the things that I want to share with you and the people who care to listen whatever we're saying here. But the deal is that my dad, when I would go out, we go out to restaurants to eat, and I would talk to the waiter or the waitress. I was like, "Hey, Joe," or "Hey, Joanne, how you doing?" And my father would look at me like, "Do you know these people?" I'm like, "Nah, Dad, I'm my first time here." "Well, how do you know who they are?" "But Dad, their name is on the badge right there."
Yeah.
You know? So, and the thing is that if they come to you, if the people come to you being engaging, then you give it right back.
Yes.
You know, it's definitely the emotional and spiritual boomerang.
Yeah.
You know, when you're nice to people, it comes back, and people want to help you, and people want to do things for you. One time I was coming back from Japan, and I'm talking trash with one of the flight attendants, and you know, me and her, we're just having a lot of snaps, you know, and then one of the other flight attendants guy, I'm talking with him, we're having snaps, and all three of us are just having fun. Don't you know, when I got off the flight, they gave me a bottle of champagne?
Just because you're a nice guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't looking for any for that.
Of course.
That's just my intention. That's just who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And despite whatever happens, and some people are not of the same ilk. You don't know what people go through.
Yeah.
But compassion helps a lot. So to answer your question about my non-musical superpower, if you will, then that's it. Just being a nice person.
Yeah. Like I said, I would totally agree with that about you. Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
That's a good question. I mean, you know, sometimes I just like going for a drive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just going for a drive. I mean, I don't have much, you know, but just sometimes, like, even at this time of year, like spring, like fall,
it's
rather,
beautiful
watching
out.
the foliage.
Yeah, it's nice.
You know what I mean? Going upstate and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Every once in a while I'll read a good book. You know, I love movies. I'm into like classic, you know, movies like film noir and different things like that. I have a couple of buddies of mine. We sit there and we discuss, you know, stuff, you know, like Turner Classic Movies stuff that's on. And one of the bands I work with, the band leader, he's a movie buff, so he spends his time between New York and Paris. And so a lot of times when we have downtime when we're on the road, it'll be like, "Hey man, this movie's playing at this movie house over here." Say, "Okay, let's go check it out." You know,
that's cool.
Or when we're home in New York, you know, we sit down, we'll go see a movie. It could be something new, or it could be something, you know, a classic, or it could be a foreign film or something. I'm into that.
That's good. You got another music buddy to hang with to do that also. Oh
yeah, I got a few of them like that. You know, we just talk about movies and different things, and you know. So, what do you think about, you know?
Yeah. Where do you go see? Where do you go see those folks? Like down in the Village or something?
Yes, sir. There's a couple of places. There's a film forum that's down west of it's on Houston Street, in fact, near Varick.
Okay.
There's another
dude. You
place,
talk about a change in areas from when we were kids to now. Soho, holy smoke! That has been like, I think you know, remember when we were kids, the Bowery was Skid Row,
man,
and now it's like Shishi. You know, it's like big time. That was the big. That's, I think, been the most, more than Times Square even. I think that's been the most dramatic change.
They cleaned up so much down there, dude. I'm like, really, y'all?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's changed a lot, man.
Yep.
And you know, and they and now, you know, they're really pushing to get like the homeless off the street, and you know, they can arrest you if you try to feed them or anything. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, but compared to back in the day, I remember going to the college fair in the New York Coliseum, which I don't think exists anymore. It was on 59th and over there by Central Park. And I remember my parents pulling up the car, and this guy is literally standing there right next to the parking meter taking a shit in the street. It was
yes.
And that wasn't that. Yeah. And the thing is, that wasn't that uncommon to see stuff like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like 3 feet away.
One of my buddies, he told me about a story. One time he was driving up 8th Avenue, around 39th Street, and he's a mechanic, but, you know, Italian guy, take no mess kind of dude.
Right.
And I remember one time he was driving uptown to 8th Avenue. He's out of the red light, and he saw this pimp slap one of his hoes, you know?
Oh, man. I remember that.
And what he did was he took out his gun and shot him and drove off.
Oh, my God. Wow, that's a pretty deliberate response. Oh, that's maybe a bit of an overreaction, but maybe not.
Hey, man, that's what it was in New York.
Yeah.
And, you know,
yeah.
I mean, at 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, the city that never sleeps, anything can happen. And
what's funny, I always
like that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'd say, as I was raising my kids, I always would tell them, you know, nothing good is going on after midnight. Do not be in your car. Of course, you know, none of them paid attention because I'm, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. But I always remember saying that to them. Nothing good goes on after midnight. Stay in after midnight. Just reminded me when you said that, you know, 3 or 4 in the morning in a city that never sleeps. That's exactly why.
Yeah. We were lucky. I mean, a lot of stuff happened, but luckily, like I said, I was just fortunate to dodge a lot of that stuff, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to ask you 3 more questions, and I'll let you go. I really appreciate everything here, man.
Likewise. Thank you. You kidding? Thank you, man. It's an honor. Like I said, it's an honor to be on this 100th episode.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's me. I'm the one who feels stoked. But listen, if heaven exists, what do you want to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, man, why are you going to do this to me?
That's your answer?
No. He'll go.
It might not be a bad answer, actually. I mean,
he'll go. God, if heaven is this and God sees me, okay.
What do you want to hear?
He'll say,
what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Well, son, glad to see you.
Glad to see you.
Glad to see you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Toughest decision you ever had to make, or the hardest thing you ever had to do?
To not be a musician. I mean, we all make sacrifices. Some of us have made sacrifices. I have made the sacrifice of not being married or being a parent in my younger years. Okay? If I were married when I was younger and I was a father, oh boy, man, you know.
You know, that is a tough decision. I respect you for that, though, because I think, you know, having the wisdom to know that this would not be a good thing.
Right.
I really give you credit for that, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of freaking parents that apparently did not realize that about themselves, and they just went ahead on blindly. And not that I was like Father of the Year, but, you know, I always was like, took my responsibility as a dad very seriously, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I give you credit.
Yeah, it is serious business. Yo, man, it is serious business, man. I mean, you know, you're raising this little life is depending on you for everything. And I mean everything.
Yeah. Well,
so,
it's not when they're little that you're tested. That's the thing. It's when they're older that you got to keep reminding them. Says, well, you know, I got to keep in mind they didn't ask to come here. I brought them in, so I got to see this whole, you know. And at times when they're older and they try you, it's really tough. And
yeah.
You know, it at least it's been a challenge for me anyway.
The thing is that when they do that and they challenge when they're trying you and you're giving them this information, they will come to the realization that they too will soon be adults, and they soon also will be possibly parents if they're fortunate enough to have children. And the information that they're going to have to pass on will be reminiscent of the information that they got from their parents. And because my dad always said, you know, Tony, if you're fortunate enough to have children, you're going to be sitting here telling your kids the same thing that I'm telling you now. And don't you know that many times I've spoken to my father about that when I was dealing with my exes who had, you know, who were children, you know, who have children. You know? Yeah, and I said, Dad, I just said the same thing to her that you said to me 35 years ago. And he just sits there and laughs. You know?
Yeah.
And, and I told my mom, I mean, they just laughed at me. Because they said, yep, told you. I said, yeah, you did. You did.
It's funny you say that because we have a granddaughter. She's 3. My older son Nick had a child, and he's come to me many times and said, "Hey, I learned this from you, and I'm really glad." So it takes a long time, but I have not a reward, but I had the satisfaction of knowing that at least I did a decent job from him. I'm glad you told me these things. So it's been kind of nice.
Yes.
Yeah, and even lessons like. He's come back and thanked me for certain things I did that I let him learn a lesson the hard way. So, yeah. So it takes a while. Anybody listening, it takes about 25 to 28 years to get that back, but hang in there, you'll get it.
Right. There's that return. But you know what? But sometimes even if it doesn't come back, as long as you know that you've done all that you could.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know for you have girls, so. To quote a certain comedian, you're just trying to keep them off the pole.
Yes.
Just keep them off the pole. That's all, and that's fine. That's the best thing. I mean, just give them the wisdom and love, man. And it'll come around.
Well, I'll tell you.
Come around 'cause,
go ahead. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you, man.
No, just saying it comes around, man. And I mean, because your daughters are going to come back and say, "Dad, remember when Dad, I remember those times when I fought you." Tooth and nail about that thing that we kept talking about, that thing that you kept pushing me, and I'm like, Dad, I and I was fighting you about that. Well, you know what, Dad, I get it.
Yeah, she will,
get it now.
For sure. I know that because my sons have, and so she'll come back and do the same. But there's another comedian's advice I followed. Chris, I've been. And I'd look her, and she knows it. I've been 100% faithful to my wife for 25 years, and there's only one reason why. I heard a long time ago. Well, not one reason why, but one conscious decision I made. Chris Rock once said something, and he said, "A man's is only as faithful as his options." Right. Yep. So I always made sure, because I'm freaking human like everybody else. I always made sure I never had options, and that was the decision I made to make sure that I was that there would never be any issues with that, because I just like I'd have buddies over the years that I knew were like women hounds, and hey, let's go out drinking. I would never have a drink with those guys ever, not once. So that really kind of saved me that Chris Rock line. So I don't.
Well, that's who told me about keeping them off the pole.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I said that. That's what made me think of that. I said that's Chris Rock. Got to be, man. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Hey man, one last question. What is your definition of happiness for now?
What is my definition of happiness? Wow. Okay. Now, I could go the easy route and say, make sure my bills are paid, and my wife's there, and she wears that certain thing that I like, and I mean, I could say that.
That's part of it. Probably not the full definition. But
I guess just the inner peace, man. Inner peace. And I know that sounds whatever, but
no, man, it sounds great.
It is so true nowadays, man. You better have that inner peace. So, because once you have that inner peace, everything else falls into place. The happiness, the euphoria, things that may not be so wonderful, but you'll be able to handle and deal with them, and you come out smelling like a rose. Just having that inner peace, man, about stuff. I think, and like I said, I think that's for me. Because I could worry about anything. I could, but I realized there were times when I was like a young adult when I used to worry about not getting gigs, and I used to get sick to my stomach because I'd be wondering, oh my God, I really want to play. I want to do this, and the phone isn't ringing, and I'm like, man, just relax. And my brother reminded me of this recently too. That he said, man, there was a time when you thought that you wanted to give up playing music because the phone was people weren't calling you. And he reminded me, he said, yo, man, I just told you, just hang in there. Keep doing what you're doing. You're on the righteous path, dude. And there's going to be times when you're going to turn down work, and boy, was he right.
That's great.
You know, as I got on in my years, man, you know, just, hey, you know, people call me for stuff in situations. I'm like, oh no, it's like a bad relationship. You know? It's like, oh no, I'm not doing that. But yeah, I think just having that peace of mind, knowing that things are going to be taken care of, you know, that inner peace, that inner faith, that things are going to work themselves out regardless, you know, and wherever you end up, it's going to be fine, you know, and it's all temporary too.
Yes.
If you don't see it, if it doesn't seem like it's happiness for you, it's all temporary.
Very true, man.
You know, but yeah, just having that inner sense and that inner strength and that inner peace, man. Those, you know, when you have that, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing that gets you. That's a basis to get you through the grind of everything. You know.
Tony, man, I can't thank you enough for your time. I love you, man.
Love you too, man. Wow, and it's so great to reconnect with you know. You know what I mean? And just have all these wonderful memories and something to think about. And, you know, something maybe, who knows, do this. Like I said, whoever's listening, whoever decides they want to listen, you know, if, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, I hope you love it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope, you know, enjoyed the snaps and the fun that Craig and I had, you know. And, you know, if something you can walk away from it with that, you know, it's like, yeah, I hear you, man. That's wonderful, too.
Hey, you know? Where could people see you play? I know you got some stuff coming up with Soul Jazz.
Yeah, we're playing in November 11th in town at a Club Bonafide on East 52nd Street in Manhattan. So I'm doing that. Let's see. Well, let's see. I play with another band that I work with in Europe, from New York here, called Circular Time, and we play different places here. I think the 15th we're going to be at Bonafide. I think the 22nd we're going to be. That's December 15th. I got to get the information, but Circular Time, the band, and they're also on Facebook too.
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you, are they online with where they're touring?
Yeah, circulartime.com. You can find that. You know,
awesome.
You could, yeah. So we can do that, and like I said, with Ty Steven with Soul Jazz, we're doing some stuff. I think there may be something happening for New Year's. Where we're going to be playing at Trumpets in Montclair, New Jersey.
Awesome.
We're going to be doing that, you know. And with the band Circular Time, we're going to be doing a couple of shows in New Orleans December 6th and the 9th. So, you know, again, at the website, there's some upcoming stuff with that as well.
Circular Time. Hey, do you do tracks at home or anything like that on Pro Tools and stuff like that?
I have done some stuff here through Logic, you know, and it's just all the same difference. It's all like WAV files, you know. I do like some electronic stuff, and then if I need to, for like live stuff, I can go to another studio. I have access to a couple of places, you know, where I can go and like set up my gear and go and play.
Awesome. Anybody needs? Hey, let me tell people. I'll promote you because you're a wonderful drummer. Anybody needs a good drummer, tracks, call Tony Lewis. Check him out on YouTube. I mean, this is a sweet guy, and he's a tremendous. Just watch his videos on YouTube, man. What a work ethic this guy's had, and like I said, I've seen him play for 40 years ago, and he had that work ethic before I knew what work ethic meant. So,
yeah.
You know,
you're doing all right. Don't get it twisted, man. You're doing great. Craig. Yeah, I said it. You're doing fine, man. You're doing, you know, I know you're giving me all these accolades, and I appreciate it, but you're doing fine yourself, bro.
Yeah,
okay? You're doing all right.
We're making it. So
yes, we are.
Hey, listen.
Not even trying. People go, hey, how you doing? I'm trying. No, you're not trying. You're doing. You're doing.
We're doing.
That's
it,
the important
man.
thing. You're doing.
We're hitting the rock every day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, man. Thank you so much for spending time. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. We're not going to wait too long to catch up again. I can promise you that much. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this interview. The first 100 episodes have been fantastic. I think our broadcasting schedule for now is going to go to 3 or 4 days a week. Please feel free to give me feedback any one way or the other, good, bad, ugly, indifferent. You know, you can private message me from our Facebook page at facebook.com/Everyone Loves Guitar. You can go to the website. There's a contact form there. So thank you, Tony, again, for spending all the time with us.
Thank you.
Man, I appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother, and congratulations on your 100th episode. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you and to catch up with you. And hey, man, it's all wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much.
Same here, man. Everybody, go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes, along with some cool stuff for guitar players. Now, as Tony said, be nice. Play your guitar. Have some fun, right? Till next time, I'm out. Peace. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.